Tell me if this is you too. You just sat down to write an email sequence, but 3 minutes later, you're on Instagram, then Slack, then checking your texts, even though you just looked at them. 20 minutes is gone, and your train of thought is totally derailed. Does that sound familiar? Welcome to Ditch the Chaos. I'm Cara, Chace, and this is your space to figure out how to run your life and business without running yourself into the ground. Today, I'm walking you through what phone addiction is really costing you and your business, and why the fix has nothing to do with willpower. So let me tell you a story about what happened to me over the holidays this last year, because it's changing everything about how I run my business. For anyone who doesn't know, I've dealt with Lyme disease, mold toxicity, and chronic infections over the last 3 years. My primary symptom has been food reactions, histamine reactions, blurred vision after eating, just not fun stuff. And at my worst, I was down to about 5 foods that I could eat without my body going haywire. I spent years tracking every bite, paying thousands for sensitivity tests and supplements, and trying to figure out what was triggering all those reactions. This last Christmas, during my 2-week holiday break, something really strange happened. I was eating too much sugar, I was not being careful about foods that I knew I was sensitive to, and I felt completely fine. No reactions, nothing. I thought, cool, I've won. I'm done with all that. And I had turned a corner. And then the Friday before the first Monday of the new year came, my brain shifted into work mode. My bursting inbox, what was I going to do with social media marketing, customer journeys, all the things that I'd been ignoring for 2 weeks. And just like that, I started reacting to every single thing I ate. I was furious. What had I eaten? What had changed? And then it hit me. The food reactions weren't really about food. They were tied to my nervous system processing the thought of going back to being online for hours every single day. When I sat with that, I knew in my gut it was true. My body had been screaming at me for years, and I'd been too busy troubleshooting food sensitivities to hear what it was trying to tell me. My business model, the one that required constant social media presence, inbox monitoring, content consumption, it was quite literally making me sick. So let's talk about those things that are so good at keeping us tied to the online world, our phones. And here's the sneaky thing about phone addiction when you run a business. It doesn't look like addiction. It looks like hustle. It looks like being dedicated, responsive, accessible, on top of things. You're not scrolling for fun. You're checking client messages, responding to leads, posting content, monitoring campaigns and insights, staying visible. This is your business. Of course you're on your phone. Except your nervous system doesn't know the difference between productive scrolling and mindless scrolling. Your body doesn't care if you're on Instagram for work or for pleasure. All it knows is that you're flooding it with stimulation, cortisol, and decision fatigue every single time you pick up that device. It isn't about willpower. It isn't about being weak or undisciplined. Tech companies have spent billions of dollars engineering these apps to be as addictive as possible. You're not failing because you can't just put your phone down. Your brain is being hijacked by people who are extremely good at hijacking attention. So let's talk about what's actually happening to your business when your nervous system is maxed out, because this goes way beyond just losing an hour to TikTok. First, your decision-making goes to hell. That strategic pivot you've been considering, the client boundary you need to set, the offer you want to launch, you can't think clearly enough to make those calls when your brain is running in a constant low-grade state of panic and overwhelm. The decisions feel impossible, not because they're hard, but because your brain just has nothing left. Second, your capacity totally evaporates. You're exhausted despite being quote unquote productive all day. And here's why. You're processing endless notifications, switching between apps constantly, maintaining that chronic vigilance that drains your cognitive resources faster than actual work ever could. You're burning fuel sitting still. Third, your creativity flatlines. Original ideas require white space. Deep work requires sustained attention. But when your brain is trained to expect a dopamine hit every 3 minutes or less, sitting with an uncomfortable blank page long enough to actually create something becomes nearly impossible. And fourth, your body starts keeping score. Headaches, digestive issues, sleep problems, anxiety that seems to come out of nowhere. Your body doesn't have the language to say we need a break from the constant stimulation. So it says it through symptoms you can't ignore forever, like I couldn't. Okay, so you're thinking, I'll just set up Apple Screen Time, I'll put limits on my apps, problem solved. And here's why that doesn't work for most people. It's just too easy to bypass. You hit your limit, you get the notification, and you tap Ignore Limit for today without even thinking about it. Because you're working, you're in the middle of something, that message might be important because you need to check just one more thing. And the problem isn't that you lack information about how much you're using your phone. The problem is that knowing your usage doesn't change the behavior when bypassing your own rules takes one tap and zero thought. You need friction, real friction, not a gentle reminder that you can override without thinking. So here's what actually worked for me. After my holiday revelation, I put a serious pause on social media. I needed space to figure out what a business that didn't require chronic phone addiction would actually look like. And I needed real help, not motivational quotes, not gentle suggestions, something that would physically stop me from defaulting back to the pattern. I found an app called Opal, and it's not the only one, it's just the one that I'm using. And it's been one of the most effective tools I've used for creating actual boundaries with my phone. I use the free version, which has been more than enough, and I will link to it in the show notes. Here's what makes it different than screen time. It blocks apps and websites during focus sessions. When I'm in a focus block, which I set the times for, I literally cannot access Instagram, email, or any app I've flagged as off limits. You can set up recurring schedules, and I have automatic blocks that run during specific times of day, mornings before I've done my deep work, evenings when I'm supposed to be with my family. The blocks happen whether I remember to set them or not, and that part matters a lot because willpower is a terrible system. Then there's deep focus mode, which is exactly what it sounds like. You set a timer and you're locked out of everything in your phone until it ends. It's uncomfortable at first, and you'll catch yourself picking up your phone out of pure habit, realize you can't get in, and just have to sit there. And that's the point. That discomfort is your brain recalibrating. Opal also tracks your actual screen time with context, pickups, time in different app categories, your time offline percentage. And it's not in a shame-inducing way. It's more like, here's the data you need to make informed decisions about how you're actually spending your attention. Again, I'll link Opal in the show notes, and if you use my referral code, you can try the pro version for 30 days instead of just 1 week. Okay, on to what I have actually realized over the past couple months. And this is the part I really want you to hear. I don't want a business that requires social media the way everyone else does it. I'm writing more, multiple new blog posts every single month, and I'm finally working on a book I've been putting off for years. I'm keeping my inbox cleaned out. I'm showing up for clients without my nervous system treating every workday like a threat. And my business hasn't imploded. In fact, I'm thinking more clearly, making better strategic decisions, and working with a level of calm I didn't know was possible if you're running a business from home with 2 kids. And this didn't happen because I suddenly developed superhuman willpower. It happened because I questioned the rule that says entrepreneurs have to be constantly online to succeed. You have to constantly be posting social media content. And I built a system that actually supports how I want to work instead of slowly destroying my ability to do the work at all. If your body is trying to get your attention with headaches, digestive problems, food sensitivities that don't make sense, anxiety that feels completely out of proportion to what's actually happening in your life, I want you to consider something. It might not be about what you're eating. It might not be about how much you're sleeping or whether you're meditating enough or have the perfect morning routine. It might be about the fact that you're asking your nervous system to process constant stimulation, endless decisions, and chronic availability, and it's doing the only thing it can do to get your attention. It's making you uncomfortable enough that you have to stop. I know because I spent 3 years troubleshooting these symptoms, and my body was never confused about the problem. I was. Of course, I have to insert a medical caveat here that I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. If you feel like garbage, you should go see a real doctor. So here's your reset and reclaim action step for the week. Pick your most distracting app, the one you reach for without thinking, and block it during your best 2 hours of work tomorrow. Just tomorrow. 2 hours. Use Opal, screen time, an app blocker, anything else. Use whatever creates enough friction that you actually have to make a conscious choice to pick up your phone and get into that app. Notice what happens. Notice if you reach for your phone anyway out of habit. Notice if you feel that pull, that low-level restlessness. That's your nervous system showing you exactly how deep this pattern goes. You're not trying to fix everything this week. You're just gathering data. You're paying attention. Start there. If this episode resonated, I'd love to have you join the Productivity Rebellion. It's my free monthly guide for women who refuse to choose between success and sanity. Once a month, you'll get one productivity strategy that actually fits your real chaotic life, behind-the-scenes stories from my month, not Instagram perfect advice, and the chance to ask me anything. I answer subscriber questions right here on the show. Think of it as your monthly reset when you're tired of holding everything together with duct tape and coffee. Sign up for free at carachace.com/productivity-rebellion. And P.S. If this episode hit close to home and you're ready to build a business that actually works with your nervous system instead of against it, that's exactly what Chaos Detox teaches. Not willpower-based systems that fall apart the second a client emergency hits. A method for building your week around your actual energy, including how much stimulation your nervous system can handle before it starts talking to you through physical symptoms. Learn more at carachace.com/chaos-detox. Thanks for listening. If this helped, please leave a review. It helps other women entrepreneurs find the show. I'm Cara Chace, reminding you to keep questioning the rules and making your own.